Boris Johnson has been accused of being bored with post-Brexit trade talks between the UK and European Union, and the Prime Minister has been attacked over his unconcerned attitude towards the prospect of a no deal. The Prime Minister went into last December's general election pledging to get Brexit done, that would see Britain officially leave the EU on January 31, 2020, as agreed by both sides. He overwhelmingly succeeded with that promise, as his Conservative Party secured an 80-seat majority in the House of Commons, which was used effectively to get the withdrawal agreement voted through the UK Parliament. Once the UK left the bloc at the end of January, Britain and the EU entered a transition period that would enable the two sides to thrash out the details of a post-Brexit free trade agreement (FTA) before December 31, a deadline the Prime Minister has refused to extend. These talks have been led by the UK's chief negotiator David Frost, who this week met with EU counterpart Michel Barnier in Brussels in the latest attempt to find a breakthrough in the current impasse. Last month, Mr. Johnson infuriated EU leaders with a plan to press ahead with the UK government's internal market bill, which seeks to override key parts of the withdrawal agreement and consequently, break international law. On Saturday, the Prime Minister will speak with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to discuss the next steps following the conclusion of the final formal round of talks in Brussels. It is understood the EU chief wants the talks to check Mr. Johnson is still serious about reaching a Brexit deal. But Mr. Johnson has remained relatively disconnected from the discussions, leaving that responsibility to Lord Frost and Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove as he desperately tries to manage the coronavirus crisis in the UK. But Alistair Jones, Associate Professor at Department of Politics, People and PLOS, de Montfort University, has lashed out at the Prime Minister, suggesting he is taking his relaxed approach to negotiations too far. He told Express.co.uk, Boris Johnson has got bored with the talks. He promised to get Brexit done, and won a general election on that pledge. The legislation was passed through Parliament. In his eyes, job done. The actual detail required in all of this was not his concern. The UK has left the EU and the transition period will end on December 31, 2020. Professor Jones also lashed out at Mr. Johnson for backtracking on his pledge to keep the Union as one.